Good morning, everyone. Today's Monday, April 19th, 2021. The time is 10 a.m. This is a special meeting agenda to consider airport and airport advisory board update. Joining us is our director, Stephen Kiergaard, and also our chairman of the advisory board, Greg G. Feller. Do we have any changes to the agenda? Hearing none. We have several items on the agenda, and Director Kiergaard has asked that we take up item 3 first, which is the CDA Skeet and Trap Club property cleanup and infrastructure reimbursement. Go right ahead, Stephen, please.
This is an item.
You want to pull it in, get it in as close as you can.
This is actually an item that Commissioner Duncan actually asked to add, and I believe the CDA Skeet and Trap Club is here to discuss a reimbursement, if I'm not mistaken, for partial water line that was installed. And I'm going to turn it over to them so they can do a presentation to you about that. I am going to have some comments after the fact of what it is. We can have that conversation also.
Okay.
Okay, fair enough. Who's going to speak for the club?
Morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Wagner, the current president of the Kootenai Ski.
Can you pull your mic
Yeah,
up a
pull
little
it up.
bit? There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
you.
Can we start over?
Yeah, please.
I'm Ed Wagner. I'm the current president of the Kootenai Ski and Trap Club. And we're here to not only discuss that, but also discuss about the proposed sale and the future of our club. And we have a presentation that we put together. If it's okay, we could do that for you.
Go right ahead, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
It'll be a two-part presentation. First off will be Michelle Thurman. And it's all in your packet there.
Okay,
And not everything she's going to say is in there. I mean, so
in more detail. That's great.
Okay.
Okay. Welcome. Name?
Good morning, Michelle Thurman.
Go right ahead, Michelle.
Commissioners, America's way of life is under attack. Our Constitution is under attack. Idaho is under attack. Our way of life, our freedoms, our deeply rooted traditions, and our constitutional rights to bear arms. The shotgun sports are a deeply ingrained, long-standing tradition of our culture and Idaho's unique way of life. Idaho citizens are a hair's breadth away from never being able to pass those rights and traditions on to our children and grandchildren. Now we take it even closer to home, and Kootenai County is days away from possibly losing the only means of implementing and passing those traditions down because the county proposing to sell the land we have leased as a good tenant for 56 years to fund projects for the airport. Recognizing the national trend of special interest groups closing down shooting ranges through litigation, our state legislature overwhelmingly supported and just presented Senate Bill 1055 to Governor Little, and he enthusiastically signed this bill to protect government and nonprofit shooting ranges within our glorious state. My name is Michelle Thurman. I have been a member of the Kootenai Skeet and Trap Club since 2010. I started shooting at the club simply because my husband and 2 young sons did, but I was instantly hooked. I love shooting for so many reasons. I've worked and read, paid for lessons, worked some more to become a proficient. I've competed at the World Skeet Championships, become a certified instructor, coached youth teams, served on the Idaho State Board of Directors Scholastic Clay Target Program, volunteered with the NRA's Women on Target program, and I'm an NRA certified range safety officer. Why am I passionate about this club, this sport, and this lifestyle? As a woman, it is empowering to be nearly 60 years old, yet still compete on an equal playing field with men of all ages, youth as well as senior citizens. We're not just a shooting club, we're a community, a vital social outlet for many. Our club is where senior citizens come, some almost daily, not just to shoot, but to meet with their friends and stay physically active. Those same seniors are there to encourage the youth and the women. I've had the pleasure of watching this club afford the opportunity to shoot to a blind man, to men in wheelchairs, and to young women such as Ava, who will speak to us in a moment. But best of all, to my own children, as they learn the discipline and responsibility of handling a firearm and becoming responsible adults who are still contributing to and participating in the sport. Most of all, I look forward to the day when I can pass it to yet another generation in the form of my 2 grandsons. The impact on Kootenai County. We currently have 392 active family memberships, equating to over 500 active members. Since 2011, 3 high school teams totaling 802 students used, trained, and competitively shot at our facility. These teams are Coeur d'Alene High School, Lake City High School, plus the Hayden Longshots, which is a composite of other schools in the area, which include homeschoolers. North Idaho College for over 6 years have used and trained at our facility. The 4-H program trains leaders at our facility in the safe use of shotgun firearms twice per year. Women on Target, which is an NRA-sponsored event, is women training women on the safe and correct usage of shotguns. We have trained successfully over 250 women since 2014. The club has previously been awarded grants for this program, but because we do not currently have a 10-year minimum lease in place, we do not qualify for some of these available grants. Kootenai County Sheriff and the City of Rathrum Police Departments have used our facility for shotgun training. Our Winter League, usually a minimum of 300 shooters. This year we're slightly delayed by 2 months because of COVID, but still have approximately 175 shooters. Idaho State High School Championship has been going on since 2013, alternating years between the Boise Gun Club and the Coeur d'Alene Skeet Trap Club. The championship for 2022 is scheduled to be at our facility. This event has seen as many as 125 high schoolers show up from Kootenai County, Boise, Twin Falls, Pocatello, etc. Family, friends, and staff stay in hotels and eat in restaurants for this 3-day event. The Governor's Cup is a collegiate scholastic fundraiser with over 175 participants over 3 days. 25 Idaho high schoolers are awarded partial scholarships to attend Idaho universities and colleges. 13 high schoolers are awarded partial scholarships to attend Idaho tech schools and similar educational facilities. The opportunity. The Spokane Gun Club closes on June 30th, 2021. They will hopefully, sometime in the future, at least 2 to 3 years out, reopen again. Many Spokane members have visited and joined our club recently. We anticipate additional membership after their club's closing. We have established an ATA emphasis trap committee to upgrade our trap machines and formulate chutes to enhance our current programs and provide Spokane Gun Club members a close, safe, and friendly place to shoot. Hauser Lake Trap Club will go through some changes with the widening of the Highway 53 turn lane this summer, which will interrupt and possibly change their operation. The last to Kootenai County, 75 years of tradition within Kootenai County. If we lose our facility, not one person will be able to participate in skeet within 233 miles of our facility for at least 2 years. Yakima Valley Sportsman Association is only open 2 mornings per week. They only have 1 skeet field. Heading east 164 miles, the closest skeet range is Missoula Trap and Skeet Club. They are open 1 afternoon per week. Newport Gun Club is a very small members-only club. Wobble Skeet and 5 Stand are completely unique to our club. We have the only wobble skeet field in the Pacific Northwest. We have a few members from Lewiston who shoot at our club. The Lewiston Gun Club had been in existence for 124 years, most recently for 42 years at the County Regional Airport. Their lease was vacated by the County for Economic Development in May of 2005. All of the participants from that region who endeavor in shotgun shooting sports have to drive to Hayden or Spokane. This is a trend that is happening throughout our country and most alarmingly within our state. We will lose the ability for many high school and collegiate youth to be trained properly and then compete in this sport. Many of the students are competing in this sport alone and nothing else. We lose upwards of 500 family memberships in a non-COVID year participating. We lose 75 women per year being introduced and trained properly in shotgun shooting sports. We lose the ability to support the Governor's Cup fundraiser. Kootenai County loses all of the financial impact from all of the events which do draw or will draw from southern Idaho, Montana, Washington, Oregon, and Canada. We lose the social aspect of the club. We have numerous members that hang out with friends and family whether shooting or not. Entire families will shoot together and enjoy the safe environment the club offers. The reality, if the club has to close, Kootenai County citizens will lose all of the above. I want to introduce Ava Munry.
Hello, good morning. My name is Ava Munier, and I would like to begin by thanking you for allowing me to advocate for the preservation of the Coeur d'Alene Skeet and Trap Club. For decades, shooting has been revered as the epitome of a guy's club, with historically low female presence in the sport and still today drastically fewer women participating. The concept that a club like such could provide a positive community and a source of empowerment for both me and other female shooters may seem bizarre. However, the club in our town is the antithesis of these antiquated views. Lifelong members of this club have fostered a community of acceptance and support. I personally have received nothing but encouragement and generosity from this establishment and the people who comprise it. Every single member is committed to your success and watching you grow both as a shooter and as an individual. Furthermore, I hope that your biggest takeaway from my appeal is understanding how important it is for this club to continue if we ever hope to generate a larger female presence in the sport and simultaneously empower our youth. As a young female, I was extremely nervous, something that I don't feel a lot when I began shooting, because it was both a sport that I was unfamiliar with, as well as it's intimidating to learn how to handle a tool that has deadly potential. However, the confidence that I have gained from intimately learning how to handle a tool of both recreation and self-defense is immeasurable. If you are complacent and allow for this club to be ended, not only will we prohibit the future involvement of women in a male-dominated sport, but we will also systematically prevent young women like myself from benefiting from both the empowerment and opportunity that shooting provides. There are no other clubs in the area that provide the same equipment and facilities as ours, so if this club ceases to exist, my career will go alongside it. The new generation of shooters are already embracing this community, as high school teams across the area utilize our club's facilities. If this range is shut down, I can say with absolute certainty that we as a youth community will be devastated. I understand that there may be other factors at play in your decision, but the historical significance of this club and the enjoyment that citizens across all ages in our community experience is indisputable. Shooting is at the heart of this area's culture, and it is imperative that we as a community continue to foster that cultural tradition and deep reverence for bearing arms. Those ideas simply are not outweighed by the potential monetary gain a sale could provide. When you make your decision, I beg that you please look at the historical past and the future that we're bringing a driving force to. Thank you.
Well done, thank you.
In conclusion, what is the American way of life, heritage, and constitutionally granted freedoms worth to Kootenai County and its citizens? The airport and the commissioners have stated that the 27-acre portion of land we occupy is worth approximately $25 million. Or, not so much, $2 million, excuse me. As a nonprofit organization, the club's role is to provide an opportunity for the public to participate in shotgun shooting sports as inexpensively as possible. The club does not have the funds to relocate, purchase the land, or clean the site regarding lead shot and or chemicals which we occupy. We would propose an alternate solution. Number one, analyze our current land footprint and revisit the platting process to encompass this area. Then proceed with the sale of the remaining configured empty lots for the airport projects. Number two, formulate a 99-year lease that will protect this valuable and historical way of life. The county commissioners have a window of opportunity to preserve a legacy for the current citizens of Kootenai County and for future generations at no cost to Kootenai County. Please, it's priceless. Don't make a decision that will permanently remove this way of life for our residents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it, well done. Stephen? Are you asking anything of us today?
That's the first time I've seen or heard this presentation, no. It's if the board would like to have a conversation about change of direction, we need to have that conversation. As I've stated previously, I want this airport out of leasing property that doesn't align with the airport's goals.
Right.
Running an airport. And this 60-odd acres goes to the 80 acres approximately falls under that category. That includes where the armory building is, the trap club is, everything along those lines. Looking at the realignment of the lease, we've had this conversation before with the previous boards with the Skeet and Trap Club. If we move them to market rate, it's probably close to be $300,000 to $400,000 per year. That's what the cost is per year for their
Where are they at?
rental rate. If we move them to rental rate, they're currently at about $1,000
Per year,
per year.
okay?
So to move them into market rate, to modify leases, things like that, isn't something. I don't think they can afford to do that either. With us selling the land, I'm not saying that somebody can't come in and continue to operate it either. It's just that us having this land does not align with our intentions as an airport.
Okay.
So with the information about cleanup, wouldn't that then take that property from a market rate down to less than that if you were going to sell it?
My opinion, I had already discounted the market rate by over 50% at 75,000 per acre. If you looked at what we were hearing for market is anywhere between 120 and 150,000 an acre in the area.
That's for prime building
would-
location.
I would say a lot of this is fairly prime as
because
Ramsey
it's
will be
almost
upgraded.
prairie.
Yeah, for not residential though. Okay.
Stephen, would you agree that anybody that buys that property should be formally made aware of the contamination on that property?
And that's what we'll do as part of the bid package is there'll be a clause that states that this is an active gun range that has been in use for over 50 years. However, no formal testing has been completed by the county, and the county has no intention of doing any formal testing of it. If the potential buyers wish to do so, we can arrange that opportunity, but the county has no intention of it.
To me, that's the poison pill, if you will. If I were looking to buy a big piece of property like that by the airport and someone said, you're gonna have to be responsible for any contamination, it's not just lead shot, it's lead dust and it's clays, because up until recently, the clays were not biodegradable. They were considered poison for cattle and whatnot. So there's a lot of contamination on that property.
Yep, and that's, like I said, if the land or the people that are interested in purchasing it, if they'd like to do testing on it, that's their responsibility. That's where we leave it on them. But we'll make sure that they're aware of it as part of the package. But that's not, it's up to them as their due diligence.
Okay, so we're talking 27 out of how many total acreage?
60.
60. But
27 out of 60.
Realistically, it does the way the club would end up sitting is it makes it a very odd configuration.
I was just going to say.
Because it's not a square, it's more of it's a rectangle.
If they did the 40, because I know we just signed the quick deeds.
We would have to talk, I'd have to talk to Trap Club because it depends on what size range they're looking at. Because if I know in the past they've looked at a 900-yard range, or 900-foot range, and some safety areas pushed it actually pretty far out. Depends on the size range they're looking at, depending on which category they're looking for.
Okay,
So I can't tell you that right now. I really can't.
sure. Mr. Wagner, did you have cleanup? Did you guys contact somebody about cleaning up those acreage?
Yes, there's an estimate in your packet. We had MT2 come from Colorado to test the soils. He originally came to see if he would mine the lead, but we asked him to do that also. He's also working with the Spokane Gun Club. And the bottom line is it's $2 to $3 million to clean up.
Okay.
And so that's why we're asking to. There was another club that we heard about that had the same situation, and they both looked at it, says we're not going to mess with it. They signed them a 99-year lease, and they're happy. We routinely clean the lead to keep it so it doesn't build up over the years. And that's part of the EPA program that we pretty much follow, and we've been doing that pretty regularly throughout the years.
Okay.
I was associated with a club first in 2002, and with rare exception, I've probably shot more rounds out there than most people. And I've been a proud member and on the board of directors. What happened to the sizable building fund that we had amassed?
I have no knowledge of that. I've been there for 7 years, and we quickly looked through some records. We never saw any record of that, so I don't know. None of us here have any record of or knowledge of that.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it. So, Stephen, even if financially this were all to work out to where the club could keep the land, what does that do to the marketability of the rest? Is it such that it would be difficult to sell the balance?
I have a feeling it would, yes. Just because the safety areas, my guess, you'd have to put into place. You're looking at we would then have to divide the property even more, which means we now have to do a separate land lot division through the city of Hayden. The reason why we did the 20 acres is we can do that administratively through the county. Anything smaller than 20 acres is we are doing a true sublot or subdivision, and we've been trying to subdivide the 20 acres on the north side since I got here. So,
Okay.
How far out is the shot fall area from the firing line?
About 175 yards.
So if you're out 200 yards and somebody were standing there, they wouldn't get hit with pellets.
Shouldn't,
Shouldn't. You never want to stand in front of.
no.
But I'm just saying that,
But based on your previous 20 acres, our shot would fall into that middle 20 acres.
Okay, so then the two 40 acres together, then beyond that, then that separate 20 acres would be
Yes, that
available.
should be clear.
Okay.
Great, thank you. Okay, so obviously, we're going to need some time to digest this. What do you suggest, Stephen? Take it up in 30 days? What's your time frame?
we're still working through creation of the package for to go out for a bid process, so that there's at least gonna be 30 days out anyways. It's just that if there's a change in direction from the board, we need to know that.
Okay, so you need direction from us before you go out for bid.
Yes. So if we reconvene in 30 days, that's fine.
Okay.
It's just, I need direction before we spend the money to go
Okay.
out to bid process.
Fair enough. So if we're going to do that, I would suggest that maybe it be the only item on the agenda, so that we can give it,
Sounds good.
fair time, which is probably the better part of an hour. So why don't we do that?
That sounds
Okay,
good.
so can we put it the same day as your airport update?
Yep.
So we can just do airport update maybe from 9:30 to 10, and then this skeet 10 to 11, and then, okay.
Yep.
Oh, so go 90 minutes.
Well, no, the airport update would be a separate meeting.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Okay, so we'll do that then.
That
Tina,
works.
you got that? Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. Well done.
So I think just part of this as well is the amount of money that was spent if this sale goes through, the stuff that, the upgrades that stay with the property.
So realistically, so they're specifically talking about Hayden Lake Irrigation District's improvements and their money into. The issue is that area is actually annexed into Avondale Water District's land rights.
Okay?
There's some old agreement between the two that the gun club shall be continued to be serviced by Hayden Lake. However, any additional development shall be serviced by Avondale. So this is an issue that, while that was installed and new, Avondale will look upon that and go, that's not connected to our lines, we don't want that.
So you're saying if this sells, whatever the new property owner does, they will not be serviced by the current water provider, they will be serviced by Avondale?
Yes.
Okay, and do we have those documents?
It's part of Avondale's annexation documentation. It was done in the 70s or 80s when the airport owned the water system, and it was transferred to Avondale as part of that all property within the airport bounds was transferred to Avondale use or rights.
Okay, and so do you have those annexation documents, or I have to get them from Avondale?
Got to get it from Avondale. We don't have
They've
them.
got them,
Okay.
I'm sure. Okay. Okay, then, can we move on? All right. Let's move back up. Item number 1, review of April 2021 Advisory Board minutes. Greg, would you like to take that, please?
Good morning, Commissioners. We had a relatively lengthy meeting last week on the advisory board. Some of the things we talked about were the sewer fees. We had a great presentation from Angie with FCS, as well as Stephen, on how to determine what the sewer fee should be going forward. There was confusion, I think, by all on what a wastewater unit is and a water unit. And so after quite a little bit of deliberation, the board has voted to table that until our next meeting to make any decision on that. I've asked Brett Boyer and Mark Ver to work with Stephen also. Brett and Mark are both members of the advisory board. So we get a better understanding of what we're really talking about, because these rate increases, could be significant for some. And we like to have our background and understanding of what we're doing regarding that. We also reviewed the airport use fees. That went relatively a lot smoother. A couple issues that I want to call your attention to is that the fuel flowage fee, what we wanted to get, probably for next year, is a better understanding of what other airports are charging for fuel flow. So we opted to leave those alone. And then we also had landing fees, and it was presented to start charging a landing fee for aircraft 5,000 pounds and over. After some discussion, it was more or less, those are the kind of guys that fly into Gulf. And, you know, they'll pay us a ramp fee if they don't buy fuel anyway, so we decided to leave the ramp fees, the landing fees where they were at. So those were the two changes. The other significant thing is the county owns 4 hangars. Currently, we are charging below market rate, and the board would like to see that rate brought up to market rate.
Okay.
I will say, I don't know, I mean, it's going to be up to Stephen and your group to figure out how quickly I believe you want to take that up to market rate, because it's like doubling the rate. But it goes from $175 a month to $350 a month.
I noticed that, yep.
Other than that, it was a good meeting. We allowed public comment before we discussed these issues. I think that was a good way to have it. They could comment. We didn't get into a debate or negotiation with them, but it helped the board get a better understanding of where we land. The big thing with the sewer fees, though, is that what we're learning is that, what is there, like 77 customers, 6 miles of line, and 3 lift stations. So if you look at utility rate making, there's a whole lot of fixed costs to spread over a small amount of users. And what I understand, it hasn't been brought up to speed lately. So we're in the process of looking at that again next month again, unless you choose differently. So our advice was leave the fees where they're at, except with the exception of the fuel flowage fees. I mean, as presented, leave them where they were last year. Raise the hangar rents, and then leave the landing fees as they are.
And we're gonna go more in. I'm gonna go more in depth here on item 4 in the fee items a little bit. So.
And I would like your minutes to reflect that I was a visitor.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All 2 hours.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I think that makes up for the 15-minute meetings, but we had a lot to cover. And what I really appreciated, I guess, from the board and the FCS consultant, Angie, as well as Stephen, is that there was a real effort to try to understand what we were going to approve or disapprove, rather than just saying, "Yep, looks good, let's go ahead and pass them on." So that's where the board really wants to understand what we're presenting and what we're asking to have approved.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for Greg?
So kind of touching on, we do have the packet from TO specifically of some of
Right.
the projects going on. One item that is not, we haven't really talked about before is, as part of the sewer study, we've realized that we actually do not have a good assessment of our sewer system. In fact, the map I'm going to show you is from when 624 was still 523, which is 15 years ago. So I just recently got a number from TO, which is about $55,000, which is going to be, they're going to camera every single line that we can. They're going to GIS every line. They're going to GIS manholes. They're basically going to determine what condition our sewer system is, where everything is actually located at. Because we also have ran into issues where we've done site surveys of locations where we have lines that aren't there, or they're 50 feet over. So we're running into issues of, we don't know where our items are, our inventory of actual use is. We don't understand where everything, how it functions as a whole, because we're missing items. So that's something we're gonna do, is it'll be a contract that'll come forward to be done next year, is accomplish it, because we don't know. We really have no idea what our true assessment of our sewer facility is. So, but for the most part, everything is continuing. We should see kind of continuing on as well. So, any questions kind of on that? If you want me to run through it, I can.
So that proposal, that would also be up to the hangars. They would also figure out, like,
Yeah, it
for
would-
instance, we're dealing with the Huckleberry situation. That would verify that.
Yes, it
for
would
us.
verify lines. We were basically showing what lines are our own, where lines are connected to, how lines are connected. Because we have some hangars, we actually do not know how they're actually connected to our system.
Okay.
And that's kind of an issue. We don't understand how they're connected to our system, and yet they are we know they're connected to our system.
Okay. Fair enough. So this was all still part of item number one?
That's still part of item number one.
Okay.
We also talked a little bit about a tower option at the airport.
Go ahead.
So I have been reaching out and in contact with the FAA about this. Actually, on Thursday afternoon, I had a conversation with a person out of, I think, DC. They are actually in process of creating what's called a reimbursable agreement, which is the only way we can get a tower at the airport through a temporary tower. What a reimbursable agreement is we agree that we will pay and fund something with the FAA. We're not agreeing right now that we will. It's just, what is the cost of that right now? My personal opinion is you're looking between $100,000 and $150,000 a month to operate a temporary tower at the airport.
Define temporary.
A tower that will be brought in on basically a trailer-type tower that the Forest Service brings in, and they'll operate out of that through the summer months. We're basically looking from June 1st to September 30th is what we provided dates for.
And why is that amount so high?
If you start looking at it, you talk, say, a 12-hour operation, 16-hour operation. You have to have 2 controllers at a minimum in the tower. They only can work between 2 and 4 hours before they need a break. You then have shift work, which is you're doubling your number. You pay for time off. You're now paying for overtime for them to be there. You're paying for per diem, hotels, rental cars. Things just add up very quickly.
Mostly personnel-related
It's just all
costs.
personnel. It's all personnel costs.
What about, there's no equipment costs then involved?
You would probably have some equipment costs of the trailer itself and some power as well, but the real cost is the staff cost. I could be completely high. I could be completely low as well. I don't know. But if you look at what it costs for us to run our staff on 8 or 9 people per month, controllers make significantly more money than what most county staff does. So
now the trailer presumably contains what, radar equipment, whatever
it's
it is?
actually just a radio and an air conditioner and a heater and a bunch of glass.
Okay.
That's all it is.
So it's a VFR type of a...
Yep.
Yeah.
It does allow them to have connection. It does have connectivity between their connection points of, communicating with Spokane Approach and things like that. But it's a good starting point of a conversation to at least have to say, well, this is what it's going to cost us if we want to fund it, this is what we need to do to make that happen.
So FAA doesn't have like a certain threshold that once you get there, they'll fund the summer tower?
No one I have talked to has ever heard of a temporary tower. It's either an all or nothing tower.
Gotcha.
You either have it or you don't.
Okay.
I think it would be interesting to see what would happen if we got down that path. We still need to go down that path of doing the cost-benefit analysis to get a full tower. However, I know from last I heard, there's 30 or 40 airports working their way through that process. And how that plays out, I don't know. Because a lot of airports, the FAA made it harder to get a cost-benefit analysis of greater than 1. Once I have a number, I'll let the board know. It's just, we're very early in the stages. I just wanted to let you know.
As this thing progresses, is there any likelihood that the FAA will participate? And if so, to what level?
The FAA, the contract tower is done this way. If you get a cost-benefit analysis of greater than 1, they will fund the personnel, which is usually your biggest cost to start with. The problem is the tower itself. Who's going to build it? The FAA does not build towers anymore. They will replace them. As I've stated previously, the FAA is a blood organization. If you want something done, typically somebody important needs to die in a plane crash, or a lot of people need to die in a plane crash. That's how they operate. And that's what it is the cost of towers I've heard right now is between $7 and $12 million. And it has to meet their spec. It's not something we design. They give you what they want, and you must build it that way.
All right. We done there?
Yep.
Okay, moving on to Do you want to do the airport fee review number 4 before we move up to the liquor license?
The liquor license is really brief.
Go right
It's,
ahead.
What it is Stancraft has asked the airport for the use of our liquor license. However, that requires you as the board to be the signatories and be fingerprinted and
Oh, great.
all the fun things it takes into account of the operations of a liquor license. And I need to have a little bit of direction on whether you're even interested in it. My opinion is the airport did this in the past, but we received zero revenue from it. My opinion, if we're going to go through this effort and maintaining it, we should get something out of this. And most airports charge between 5 and 15% for any alcoholic beverage sold on on an airport. So that would be something I would look to see to add as a part of an agreement. If we go down this path, that's what we would add, just because it costs us time and money and energy to do this, and you as the commission have to spend time and energy and money to do this as well. Can be reimbursed for that time and energy too.
Are the commissioners being fingerprinted and everything personally liable for what happens out there?
No, we would not be. The way we would structure the agreement is they are liable. It's just that they're using our license to operate from.
I just want to.
Yeah, we have a legal opinion, I think, that,
Yeah.
that states that. So is this open to the public type
Yes.
establishment? Okay.
I still, in my opinion, they still have some challenges to get by with the state because they are viewing their coffee shop to be as an acceptable restaurant. I'm not sure whether the state will accept that or not. It's just whether I need kind of some direction, whether that's, you want to continue down that path and say, okay, and work through it, or not.
I think I need to see more.
Yeah, I don't mind
Yeah.
hearing more about it.
Okay, I will have them come back, Stancraft come back and do a more in-depth presentation to the board
Yeah.
about what they want. If it was gonna be a hard no right off the bat, I was just gonna say we're not interested.
Can you get us the documents from ISP or who's ever doing the investigation that says that the commissioners have to be fingerprinted? Because that's odd.
It's because we are the holders of the license, and you as the county commissioners are that holder.
Right, but I still would like documentation from them.
And
to
it's,
state that.
I know, Dave has done a legal opinion on why it's that, so.
Okay, I remember his legal opinion. I'm gonna go find it. But I don't remember him saying about the fingerprinting and all that.
It dates back, the commission did it before, because Infinite Electronics used to have a cafe that had used our liquor license.
What was the name of them?
Something I can't remember. Lam Shavak. And,
Common spelling?
yeah. So I don't, it's been out of business since before I got here, so. This is just going off of what my staff recalls, as in why the
Were there any issues?
I don't believe so. I still think they're gonna have some issues. Stancraft specifically gonna have some issues just because it's a coffee shop, not a true restaurant. And that's the way you read, if you read it, it says it must be a restaurant. And I don't know whether ISP's gonna accept, the state's gonna accept that as a reasonable explanation.
Well, this would be described in Idaho code, wouldn't it?
And that's where I'm getting the code from.
Okay.
It's just a question of who is our legal, the owners of the license, I think, is where the question falls back to.
Okay, so what's our action item coming out of this now?
It's nothing. I'm just verifying that we're okay to move forward and get them to come back and do a more in-depth presentation
Okay,
on what their plan is.
fair enough. Moving on. Final item, airport fee review. Go right ahead, Stephen.
So moving on airport fees, I'm going to run through this presentation. This was actually done by Angie Sanchez-Vernacci. She is the principal of SCS Group, the company we hired to do our sewer study. She created a rate as basically, I'm going to start with this, is some of this is a discussion that I need some direction from the board of, are you okay with the recommendations that the advisory board made for like the fee adjustments and also the sewer? If you chose, we can just move forward with it or not. My recommendation with the sewers, we do not. The other fees, I think we do. But she created a rate model based upon as if we do not change our rate model. We're in the process of actually changing our rate structures because we're a little odd compared to a lot of different sewer collection systems.
Go ahead.
We can get our sewer, our water data because we are the landowners. So we are allowed by law to be able to access the water usage from Avondale, from Hayden Lake Irrigation District. We can see that number. Most people can't. So that's kind of why you'll see some of these numbers, they're high. I'll be the first to admit that. And that's part of the reason why we looked at creating a new model. So kind of an agenda of it was overview of the system, overview of the rate setting process, results, summary, next steps, and discussion. So kind of just a review, as Greg said, is we are fully responsible for operating, improving, and developing a system that meets all state, local, and regulations for sewer treatment collection system. We basically own about 6 miles of line. We have 3 lift stations. All those green are lines that we own and maintain. To give you a kind of an idea, 523 in this, but actually 624 is 7,400 feet long. You look at Airport Road, that road is roughly the same length. On a rough estimate of calculations, Tio and I've had this conversation, we're estimating that to be $2 million to replace. So you look at cost-wise, we have a lot of infrastructure in the ground for a lot of cost.
Okay.
Basically, we look at this of how do we generate a rate. We define the capital needs and funding. We look at the economics assumptions, some operating costs, and then HARB's cost. We add those together with revenue requirement and rate forecast, and that's how we get the rate design, the cost per WU. So key assumptions, we basically look at from a financial plan of 2021 through 2029. We really focus more on the 5-year plan though, because once we get past 2026, things really start to get very fuzzy. So that's why we don't go that far. Our current rate fee schedule, we produce about $70,000 in revenue. It's about a 50-50 split between commercial and private hangars. We have about 18 commercial users though. So you look at your numbers wise, it's heavily skewed to commercial. For operating expenses, for us to operate our collection systems, we're about $20,000. Keep in mind, we pay people to maintain it. We don't, because we don't have the licensing to maintain it as the airport. And you need to be a licensed operator underneath the state law. We also pay HARBs to do some maintenance. There's a lot of power involved. Let's face it, you're running pumps constantly. HARB's treatment cost is between about 37 to 43. In the plan, we show a 5% increase from 2022, 2023, and 3% increase afterwards. It's about 63 or 66% of our total cost is HARBs. It's a hard cost. We don't have anything to do with it. We get a number from them, and that's what it is. And Leslie can speak to this more than I can. I am actually extremely concerned that that is a low number. I have a feeling that, in my opinion, I think HARB's cost is going to double, or our cost is going to go up 50% in the next couple of years, is my gut feeling. Just based upon the numbers I hear from the meetings of your $300,000 for chemical, when as soon as our plant comes online, you now have power add-ons, you now have all these other things. Other costs are going up as well. I think they're going to be even higher than what they're forecasting. So I think that cost, they're at 43 and end of our estimate. I think they're going to be closer to 60 to 70 in my opinion. That's my gut feeling. Reserve targets, we want at least 90 days of operating expenses, which is about 14 to 17,000, and we also want a reserve capital of 50,000 for the things that break.
We have a reserve capital right now.
We've never identified it, but we do have funding available if we need it.
Okay.
So capital needs, this is listing capital needs. So we show Gulfstream Road, yes, we'll be reimbursed for that cost, but we still paying up front, so we still have to expend the money. We show Miles Lift Station. Miles Lift Station has failed basically on us once. We were able to patch it back together already a couple years ago, but we're on borrowed time for that lift station. H4 pump relocation. This pump was realistically placed in the wrong location 60 years ago. It needs to be relocated just because it's in a bad spot. It's been in plans for a couple decades to get moved. H3 is also planned to be moved, which is HARB's cleaner water that goes to the, which is also shown to be relocated in the future as well. We also show tax lane D3 extensions, about 200,000. Harb's capital contribution, we're showing about 200,000, and that's just a cost. That's something that we are gonna get a bill for that we just pay.
That's our phase 2 contribution that is due next, like in 2022
Yeah.
budget.
Yep. Funding sources, we show Gulfstream Road. We're gonna get paid back that. We basically show about half of it already under lease. We're working through more leases right now. We also want we're showing any additional revenue or any operating funds above 90-day minimum can be used towards capital. We also show a rate revenue over that period of time if we adjust the rates of about 360, that's what we're talking about when we get there. We also show an airport fund transfer of about $300,000 just to cover the costs. And then that has to be is planned to be repaid over 6 years at $50,000 a year from 2026 to 2031. So with this, what do we look at when we look at rate revenue forecasting? The darker bottom line is our operating costs. The Harbs is the green, and then the rate-funded capital is the purple line. And so that could be a depreciation. Typically, we're charging this as a depreciation valuation cost. And then the line on the bottom is, the solid line is existing revenue, and then the top line is total revenue with adjustments. So that's if we raise our rates. We did talk a little bit is we do need to make a minor modification of adding some additional growth in there, but realistically, we're running out of space, and our growth modification, we don't see many growth options available. So there will be some modifications of growth, but there's not going to be a lot. So we were actually asked through the Airport Association to have a reduction down to $8.66 for a funding mechanism for the per WU. This is what that funding mechanism would look like. We'd basically be down to $34,000 per year. We don't cover our operating costs, so we don't pay our costs to Harbs. So that means that the taxpayers, the airport, and the county would cover the remaining costs. Scenario, I'm not going to go through this because those are available in your sheet. I'm going to go straight to this. We did 4 separate scenarios of possible items.
Go ahead.
We did, the first 2 are basically leaving our commercial minimums as 6 WUs and having a rate adjustments to get us to basically having a capital scenario left over every year, about $60,000.
Okay.
So that first one was a one-time adjustment of $13.85, which would move us immediately to $31.85 per WU. For a private hangar, you're looking at about $95 per month.
Okay.
So a phased-in approach was still leaving at 6 WUs for commercial, would be a slower rate increase, and you do 350, 350, 350. And once again, a private hangar would still be at the end would still be at about $96 per month at the end of the period. The third option would be increasing the commercial users to 8 WUs. And this would reduce our total initial one time to $11.35, and this would be $29.35. This would still be about $90 a month for a private hangar, though. The next option, the option that the airport actually recommends is, if we were to do this rate methodology, is the 4th phase, which is you increase your to 8 WUs for commercial users, and it'd be $20.50 to start with because you have $2.50 increase until 2025, then $2, and you're looking at a $61.50 basically for the private hangars in 2022 or 2021, excuse me, in October. And then ending at basically roughly $90 again for a private user. As we said, we are looking at a new model, a different model, which is called a hybrid model. I'm going to actually switch to something. You have it in your packet. It's a...
Is it this one?
Yes. Let me close out of this. So what we started to look at, and we actually have a meeting scheduled with Brett Boyer and Mark Veer on Wednesday to kind of go over this, is this is our actual water usage from from November to April for the past 4 years. And these are, we know who these people are, but we're not sharing that in public information spaces, of what the water usage is. And the issue we're having with this is the oddities of the anomaly areas. For example, the 6 or so one down where it's 24, 90, 32, 38. Well, that kicks up the WU charge to 9. Well, how do we assess that, and how do we determine that a fairness to both us and to the party? So there's the problem we have as well. There's also some actually extremely large water users if you look over this averages. I mean, this 51, if you leave it at 18, is almost $1,000 per month. Now, was there a leak? Was there other things? Because it's another one where it's a 114, 130, or 330, 66, 530, 54. There's oddities that we're running into that how do we adjust and how do we accommodate?
Does this include the major leak at the gun club?
Gun Club is not on our sewer system.
Okay, so that's not included. They were, how many gallons per month were they dealing with?
Last I heard, it was over 100,000 a month.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure that's.
It's how do we adjust and how do we accommodate is where we're running into a problem with it. We've tossed around the idea of doing a maximum WUs of between 30 and 35, which would still be some of the higher in the region. The issue we run into is, to be honest, our connection fee probably was never high enough, and realistically, I don't think we can ever charge a high enough connection fee, because on the calculation that I've done is each person, when they connect, should be responsible for about 500 to 600 feet of line that's installed. Well, that's hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's not a fair connection fee, which means our rates should be a higher rate to recoup our cost of the connection and creation of the system than what we see from other people. So, but you'll see more of this. I'm going to move on. If nobody has any questions, we'll talk about the other fee items.
So when are you looking for approval on these fees?
Probably the next advisory board meeting, we're going to have another conversation about it. My guess is they'll have a board recommendation then.
Oh, okay.
And then you'll see it again at the next one.
Okay.
But moving into the other fees, as Greg said, realistically, they were pretty minor in adjustment. We are talking 0.03 cents, 0.04 cents, 0.07 cents for non-commercial. Big adjustments here. The advisory board recommended not adjusting flowage fee and not adjusting this. So there's only actually 2 adjustments that were recommended. However, you as the BOCC, if you have provided me direction today, we can have other things done as well.
So go back to, the advisory board's okay with the first set of changes.
Yep, these 2, they did not recommend making this change
Okay.
or this change.
Okay, so that would be the landing fee changes.
Yep.
But we have landing fee
We
charges
have
right
airport
now?
use fees already in place, yes.
Okay, so then back to the fuel flowage, is that because the price of fuel is going up and so they didn't want to?
It was,
It was really, what we want to do for next year at least is get more data on what other airports are charging.
Okay.
So we have a better idea to justify what our huge flow fee should be. I mean,
Okay.
and to go from 7 to 9 cents, and I think it was whatever the jet fuel was, it's really minimal dollars. I mean, it's, what, $15,000 to the county?
I think if we increase both, we're less than 15.
So we felt comfortable getting more data for next year.
Okay, and didn't 2020 surpass 2019 in flowage? numbers? Okay.
Not unusual, okay.
So, if the board's okay, we'll probably do a public hearing because of the rate change for the T-hangers. It'll most likely be on the first full week in May.
Okay.
Fair enough.
All right,
Okay,
that's it.
you're done. Greg, anything?
No, not at this time.
Leslie, Bill?
So we're agreeing that he can bring the first set of changes forward, but not the other two. Is that what you want to do?
You as a board can choose if you want to go higher than the rates we proposed. If you as a board want it lower, you can. We just need direction.
Go ahead.
How did the audience react to the hanger increases?
There wasn't any.
Okay.
Oh,
Wasn't any reaction, or there wasn't any audience?
I don't think there was an audience for that.
Okay.
Okay. So I would say, yeah,
go ahead.
do the top, bring the top ones forward.
I will say,
When you say the top one, do you mean item one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Item 1. Oh, and item 2, I guess. Item 1 and 2.
It's item 1 and 2.
the T-hangers and the landing rate,
Yeah.
Yep.
or not the landing, the rental.
Right. And then, so how many, we only have 4 of the T-hangers, or we have
We
more?
only own 4 T-hangers on the airport.
Okay. And do they know that we're proposing?
They were
this
actually on, some of them were on the
call?
Zoom call.
Okay.
Okay,
And realistically, we will most likely delay the implementation until October 1.
Sure.
fair enough. Anything else? Leslie, Bill?
Nope. Thank you, Stephen.
Public comment. This is related to the airport now. Hearing none. 10:57, meeting adjourned. Thank you.